Okay, perfect. And so now we are live with Mr. George Clinton. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, I couldn't be more excited. So I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about your background and everything that you've been able to do. You are a Grammy winner. You are an MTV Music Video Award winner. Your Lifetime Achievement Awards have been from the NAACP Image Awards, Motown Alumni Association, and more. As we just spoke about, you are an honorary music student at Berkeley College. And so now we all need to call you Dr. George Clinton.
Oh,
And I am a Cleveland native, and you have been inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you have solidified yourself as the godfather of funk. What a legacy and story.
that sounds like a long time hanging around here, doesn't it?
I know, but you look fantastic, and you still have as much exuberance as ever. So let's get started a little bit about your upbringing. Where are you from? Can you tell us a little bit about your start?
Okay, I'm born in North Carolina, Kannapolis, North Carolina. Um, Raised for the first 10 years between Virginia, Chase City, Virginia, and Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
First 10 years. After that, I went to New Jersey and went to school at 10, 11. And that's where I went to all my schooling at. And started the group there in Newark, New Jersey, Parliaments in 1956, right in there, during the Frankie Lyman era, doo-wop and rock and roll. And
Mm-hmm.
right up into the 60s, we were singing there. Had a barbershop processing hair. Is where we rehearsed the group at,
Yeah.
and doing doo-wop in 60. The Motown era started, and I had a barbershop. I moved the barbershop to Plainfield, New Jersey, and it's where we put the band together called
Yeah.
Funkadelic. The musicians.
Yeah.
And about 66, we had our first hit record. I just want to testify.
Uh-huh. And you say that solidified you as a funk group.
But
That's
we was a doo-wop group up until
mhm.
we got our first record. When we got our first record, it
Right.
was more like Motown, but it was still doo-wop. And once we got to Motown and got the first hit record, and we saw that blues and rock and roll was beginning to be the pop music. But that was the music my mother and father listened to in the
Mhm.
40s, early 50s. But that was the music the Europeans was bringing over to the blues and the rock and roll. So we had to change up from the Motown thing and do our version of that, which was funk, which
Right.
was super bluesy, super rock and roll, but slowed down, the
Mhm.
medium New Orleans type of feeling. We
Mhm.
went for the funk, and that's when you got and plus we mixed it with the psychedelic of the Jimi Hendrix and
Right.
the Beatles and all that. So
Right.
you got funkadelic, you got a psychedelic funk music.
Right.
And by the time 75 came along, Bootsy joined us. Bootsy, and he brought along with him his brother Catfish,
Uh-huh.
Maceo, Fred
Yeah.
Wesley, who
Yeah.
all played with James Brown.
So cool. And you all were at the barbershop at that time, or
Now
had you
we had left the barbershop by this time. We on the road now.
I
This
love
is
it.
a few years later. We on the road, and we evolving from the psychedelic into the new funk with horns. About 75. Sly Stone, James Brown
Oh yeah.
was
Uh-huh.
they were doing it to death. So we
Yeah.
Boosie bringing Fred Wesley and Maceo. We had horns in the band now.
Mhm.
So now we were able to do P funk, what we call P funk.
Mhm. You want your funk uncut?
You want the funk uncut,
I love
Chocolate
it.
City, you want the bomb, Mothership Connection. We was able to do all that kind of stuff
I love
because we not only had, you know, the style, we had musicians, Bernie Worrell,
it. Mhm.
Gary Scheider, Eddie Hazel, Billy Nelson, Glenn Gordon. I could be out all day naming the stars that we had
Right.
right from the get-go. Eddie Hazel and Maggie Brain was part of our history,
Huge. Huge.
until we got to the funk. We was doing that from the psychedelic side of, Funkadelic from 71 to like 75. Way out of our mind. We did the
I love that.
Woodstock type of music, the psychedelic.
Right.
We tripped out. We took our share of acid and freaked out. And then by the time we changed back up again, it was the horn time. Like I said, time
Right.
for the
Mm-hmm.
jazz type of music with the horns. And that was the mothership. We went underwater with that, with the motor booty, Sir Nose,
Oh yeah. Sorry, that was
and
a cat.
Aqua Boogie, and all of that. Then the Bootsy had his band, Parliament had their band, Funkadelic, the Brats, the Parlette. So now we were one nation under a groove.
Right, right. And I think people think a lot of times Wu-Tang first when they think such a collective, and then you're moving around and everyone is still under the same umbrella.
Yeah,
But
it was
yeah,
like 75 of us.
I heard you're all in tour buses and you're coming and you say, "This is my entire group."
The entire thing. We had our own festival to travel around.
I love that. So I have a question for you. With such an avant-garde style, and you're mixing so many amazing teams that you just said, so many different sounds. Do you feel like you were well received at first, or was it kind of who are these kids and what are they trying to do with these
Well,
sounds?
in the very beginning, you're right. It was like we were too black for white folks, and we were too white for black folks.
Yep,
But the fans that liked us, they were like P Funk till we die.
of course.
And that's the way they are now. You can find them my age, in the
Right.
80s right now, still fans, or you can find them 14.
Yeah.
It's just if they like the music, they stuck with you. So
Right.
yeah, we were really weird for a lot of people,
Oh,
especially after doing Testify with the suits on and
yes.
looking like Temptations, and
Uh-huh.
and you come back to the Apollo Theater in New York. Who wasn't going for that psychedelic stuff at first.
Right.
They
Right.
wouldn't go. They wouldn't. But then after, we did it a few times and we turned the place out. And
They
next thing
knew.
you saw freak, uptown people.
Right. And it seems like from an interview that I've heard of you, Parliament is the more funky, forward, you said, to free for all almost. And that is where you get the really out there amazing costumes. Um, can you speak a little bit about that? It seemed like you have the theater almost influence in that.
Well, yeah, like coming out of a barber shop, you become well aware of styles of clothing and
Mm,
style, especially doing that style of hair we were doing like perms and things. So we had a lot of entertainers that came through the barbershop.
right.
We got pimps, preachers, and
Uh-huh.
politicians. Everybody was styling. So you were pretty much aware of style as it approaches. You didn't have to wait for it to get there to know that it was happening. You see it way ahead of time. So using that theory, once we got out on the road, we knew how to pretty much outdressed pretty much almost whichever style it was in. We knew who provided the style the best. We were well aware of that, and being from Jersey, New York, you can go all over New York and find whatever style there was. Who was the hippest in this style? So
Yeah.
in the beginning, it was tailor-made suits, right, like the Godfather, and that was the
Yeah.
stylish look for even for us in grade school. But after we got to Motown, we did hair, so we had the best hairstyles
Mm-hmm.
on the road. We did each other's hair. So, but then when psychedelics came in, it was stuff that was old that was beginning to be hip. Jeans with patches on them, torn jeans,
Right.
but there was a style to it. I
Right.
mean, when you looked at Sly Stone, they were like the Motown version of hippie.
I love that. That's a
Jimi
perfect.
Hendrix, Jimi Hendrix was like
Right.
straight, whatever the beginning of that,
Yeah.
Haight Ashbury,
Mhm.
Canberry Street in London. He was the epitome of that. We came in mixing Motown, Jimi Hendrix,
Right.
the old school. We knew how to be poor. We know what it looked like to be poor, so we was able to
Mm,
joke on it and clown on it. We would wear diapers and sheets and
right.
it, the suit bag that the suit came in.
I
It
love
it
that.
was a clown. It was a clown thing. But the music was so hardcore that it didn't matter what we wore. The
Right.
styling was like a play. It was like when hair came out, they reminded us of us. We
I
were
love
already
that.
doing
Yeah.
that. They looked just like they copied our dress style.
Right.
So we were pretty much out there when we got the spaceship. It was about getting the most expensive pimp outfit you could come up with.
Yes.
The ermine tail coats and the fox coats and the
Right.
spaceship and the leather.
Right.
We had good tailors that made really a pimp style stuff. Matter of fact, we became the look of like 75 and 76 that Hollywood leather, you saw the Isley brothers,
Yep.
Marvin Gaye,
Yeah.
all of them got the
Yeah.
North Beach leather, it was called.
I
It was,
love
we wore that stuff, and pretty soon Sly Stone, fresh album, we had the same designer, Calvin, that did Bootsy in my
that.
mothership clothes.
I love that. So, question for you about you encountered so many artists. How did you let people just go free? I mean, you're here to express yourself, but it seems like you all just let everyone be. Especially, let's talk specifically about Bootsy, since you just mentioned him. How did you mentor and kind of, you
Well,
know,
that was easy with Bootsy. He was in Funkadelic for a minute, but him standing in the back, no matter what he looked like, what he had on,
yeah,
people could be looking around everybody else trying to see who it is. He's got that kind of dynamic visual look,
right,
So it was about
right.
he's a Bootsy. He's not a Funkadelic.
That's
He
perfect.
needs a whole thing around him. So
Yeah,
he and I came up with
yeah.
Rubber Band, Bootsy and his Rubber
Rubber
Band,
band.
and
Mm-hmm.
and got Gary Cooper and just saying the high. I'd rather be with you.
I love that
That was the him between
song.
those two voices. That was the sound of the vocals, and then his brother on the guitar. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? You can't forget Maceo
Yes.
Parker and Fred Wesley. That was Bootsy Rubber Band was its own act. So
Right.
we did that right away. As soon as we got a Parliament hit, it was about getting the Bootsy's hit, then Funkadelic,
Right.
and
Right.
then Parlette and the Brides, all of the people that sang with us and
Right.
on the records in the background got their own records out.
What do you remember most about those times? What is it? Where does your mind go?
Oh man,
Mm.
how long we stayed in when we got in the studio, it would be like
Yeah.
weeks. We would basically wouldn't come out. We sleep in there, wake up the next
Right.
day, different set of people wake up, some go to work,
Right.
some get dub in and wake up and go to school. That we was doing all of that at one time. That was the things, like 3 or 4 studios work going at the same time. You do some on this record and send it over to me. I'm at the other studio and I do some on it. I send it to
Yeah.
you. Got Junie Morrison from the Ohio Players. He
I was
was
just gonna say, it seems like you could walk into a room and anybody
when
could come in on a Funkadelic session.
he was there. It was like that's what we do. Send me some down here. He was up at 8 Studio, and
Yeah.
then you had David Spradley and Gary Scheider, doing the Atomic Dog things. We had all the different. I could
Right.
pick the style of act that I wanted to be, and just say, okay, Bernie, you and Glenn, and we had so many good people that you to choose from.
Yeah. And you call them head sessions, right?
Yeah, that definitely for Funkadelic and Parliament. We did mostly head sessions.
Yeah.
Bootsy, we kind of did head sessions, but the earlier ones, being from Motown, you learn to write the song before time.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they got to where we were that loosely free, after James Brown turned everybody loose to
Yeah.
groove, it was about vamping.
Yeah.
And we knew so much music, had so many styles, we could take a vamp and put an orchestration into it, and you couldn't even tell it was a vamp. I mean, to like when Barry White and
Right.
Isaac Hayes started doing it,
Love
they
it.
started putting big arrangements on the groove. But basically, that was a James Brown thing. Give me a
Mm.
groove and I just go over it. But then they start putting full arrangements around it.
Right.
No changes, just lots of music.
Right. And I really think about that when I think about your music and your time. I mean, these songs are running for 5 minutes, 6 minutes, sometimes 7 minutes or more. And we as the consumers just never get bored. I mean, they're real arrangements, you
Yeah.
know?
But until the kids come along, and when kids come along, they break all the rules and they say,
Yeah.
nope, we want Snapchat, we want
Yeah.
TikTok, they want it short, quick, and
Right.
concise. That's
Right.
the timing. And it's it looked like it's getting ready to go back to the other. I hear a lot of them talking about R&B.
Yes, I think jazz is making a comeback. I've been saying
Yeah,
that for 2 weeks
yeah.
now. I
But
mean,
jazz always lay around in the cut, and when whatever the new music is, it'll turn into jazz. I'm
mm,
looking for some Rock Kim songs to be played by jazz bands, you know.
yeah, yeah. And even with your songs, I noticed just going back when I hear it on my phone, I'm young, I'm a millennial, you know, and I hear you live. I mean, these are renditions that are like rock based. Like it's even different than the ones that I've consumed. And I think that's so cutting edge. I didn't realize until going back and doing my homework just how rock infused you all really were. You know?
Right. But my thing was when you was at Motown, you learned everybody's music. That's
Yeah.
one thing Barry, said. You had to respect whoever was on top on the charts. You had
Yeah.
to figure out how they got there. Never mind that you don't like it, or that ain't your time, or you either getting too old or you too young, or you just ain't in that groove. But
Right.
it's still there's another set of music in the country that always working whether you into it or not. Country is a good thing you can look at. It's always good country music.
Mhm.
They have their own thing. So, but you learn to respect, which ain't hard when it comes to the lyrics of country music. They'll
Yeah.
make you respect them. The
Yeah.
lyrics, the lyrics they come up with, you feel like you need to go back to school again once you hear good country songs. I'll test to
Yeah.
that. But that's
Yeah.
the way I felt about Motown. Smokey Robinson and Holland Doja, Holland Berry, Mickey Stevenson. They had so many good records so many good writers that you had to respect. Every Norman Whitfield, every time you turn around, Stevie Wonder,
Right.
you take him for granted. But he's
Right.
so great that ain't nobody to compare to. That's why you take it for granted, because you can't compare it to nobody else. You
I
know,
definitely heard a quote about you saying they ruled the dance floor. Essentially, Motown always
they
it out.
they ruled it. That's why the rest of the record companies didn't like. They wouldn't get off the dance floor.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you can play Motown records all night at a party and don't play nobody else, and then
Wow.
realize, oh, I forgot Shotgun. you know,
So yeah,
there's so many great ones that you're gonna leave out somebody.
right. So when you started becoming more mainstream and getting on the radio, even though from what I understand, at first it was harder to bust into the radio because you weren't so clean cut. You wanted to be radical. You wanted to express yourselves. But it seems like once you really did get in, you're scooting that Motown kind of out the way, and you're making a name. And then Michael Jackson as well. Once you hit that kind of Atomic Dog era with Billie Jean, um, you all have done so much, I think, for music. And even now, you're still very much around. I saw you with the Trolls movies,
Right.
Dalmatians, and really specifically, I want to ask you about you have a Kendrick feature on To Pimp a Butterfly, or rather, you are featured on To Pimp a Butterfly with Kendrick Lamar.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit about how that came about?
Oh, that was great. My grandkids, he asked me to do something with them. He's
Yeah,
part of the Compton, you know, area. So
right,
everybody from around there pretty much knew P-Funk. We was part of the fabric with everybody around the hip hop, before they got started, Dre and all of that.
hmm
So Kendrick coming from that, he was living up to the roots, just like this artist Lauren Halsley is a fine art girl from
yeah.
Compton right now. Her and Kendrick just did a package together of his vinyls. They just released.
Oh,
So Compton kind of stick together in that thing. So when he asked me to do it, my grandkids, oh yeah,
okay.
you
You
want to
are
you want to do it with him. They
right.
keep me up on who's, because they know I like to be down with the kids. Kids,
Yeah.
eh, they're the ones that I always look back at, because when they get on your nerve, that's the ones you want to know about. When
I've heard you. Can you explain that? I've heard you say that in under.
when they started bugging you and you start thinking like that ain't music, that ain't
Yeah, you're
music.
like,
But
right.
that means you paying attention to it, and
Mm,
it's the music that's happening. And that's how you can tell it is the music.
right,
Otherwise, it wouldn't bother you. You don't pay attention if it don't do nothing. But when
right,
they get on your nerve, you know
right.
that's. And when I see music getting on people's nerve, I'd run after it.
Yeah, really?
I was screaming about Cardi B when, when
Yeah.
for the first record. I could see I was bugging everybody. I said,
Mhm.
oh, and when I heard it, and I saw how people was dancing, everybody was doing the same dance.
Right.
you know that this is it. I don't need to know nothing else. I ain't got to like it. I learned to like it once they do that to you. Once they make you want to dance and
Right.
pitch you off a little bit, and you
Yeah.
talk about it, and still dancing to it. I kind of like got that part right when hip hop first started. You know, definitely you didn't like it at first. It was out of tune. It was out of sync. It was all of those things. But
Yes.
then you realize the thing that you didn't like was the exact things that the kids liked about it.
Is gonna stay now, you know?
Yeah, I mean, they love that break in Dre's beats. He give
Mhm.
you a slip of the thing don't loop. He
Yeah.
made that a thing that became hit. My kids say, "Don't take that out." That's what's happening.
And you have had so much impact on the G Funk era, so much of P Funk, and just I just really admire that about you, that you continue to stay just relevant, and you consider yourself, a power player in this movement. You don't step away. Exactly what you're saying. If this just does not work with me, this doesn't jive, I can't transition.
Oh no, you got to learn. You got to learn how to. I say, dance your way out of your constriction.
Oh
You
yeah,
know
One
what I'm
Nation.
saying? You got to learn how to dance
Yeah.
underwater and not get wet. You
Hmm.
know,
Yeah.
and that's what that is. Just the new styles. You're getting old. If it bugs you too much and you can't catch on at all, that means go
Mm.
sit down and go fishing and do something. But if you still trying to do anything, I did with the part that really gets on.
Right.
I mean, rock and roll was always loud and rude, and
Right.
they was intended to get on your nerve right from the very beginning.
Right.
So, dance music is kind of like that. Church music is like that.
Yeah. So I have a question
They're
for
like,
you.
why you have to holler? Well, I have to holler.
Right. Well, I had a question for you, just studying your music and trying to dissect what it is I'm hearing. So many times I wanted to say, is there church in here? Is there gospel tones? I mean, I really heard a lot of things. And I wanted to also call it soul because it feels like it's coming from a very real spiritual
Oh, well, all the band members, the first ones, Eddie and them, they was pure
place.
church. You know, I mean, that was the church was always at the root of the R&B music, and R&B music was at the root of a lot of church,
Yeah.
especially like with us. You know, a lot of church people actually got the most funk. If you want to find a good funk band now, you have to go to Houston and get you one of them church bands.
Really?
Everybody that you know that play good funk music on records
Mhm.
pretty much go to the church and
Yeah.
play, in Texas somewhere or down south somewhere.
Yeah.
It's always been like that. They swap back and forth. As a matter of fact, I was just looking at some Zulu people online. People, I didn't realize that they sound like they're in Baptist church.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
they was in a
Yes.
grocery store singing. Just went into a groove in a grocery store. It's
Yes.
like, and so that root is definitely Afrofuturism, and then like I say, I'm definitely into Star Trek and jumping the
Uh-huh.
planet and the whole
Yeah.
sci-fi thing. And black is becoming a player of the planet now. All the new materials is coming from Africa. People don't even know about all the new technology material.
Mhm.
It's getting ready to be some serious Africans in outer space.
When you remember just the height of your music career, what was your creation process like? How would you really tap into yourself and just get ready to put something down?
But back when it was happening, I was always doing it no matter what. Whether we had a record deal or not, I was going to be in the studio making music regardless. So all we had to do was either speed it up
Yeah.
or hit the road. We were always had that same process of just making all kind of music. And like I said, so many different variations of people in the band. I could choose from whichever style I wanted to work on. So you didn't get bored that way. But the process, until you got with to like Casablanca, and they was moving so fast, you had to hurry up and get it finished.
Yeah.
We'd have the A&R people waiting at the front door while we finishing up the record because they late to take
Ooh.
it to the pressing plant by a week.
Oh no.
They they have to stand by and wait for us literally to finish the
Wow.
record. The minute we finished, it was on one of those shipping planes back to the pressing plant. So
Oh,
they kept you like on your toes.
yes.
Like if they didn't, they was always on a schedule. They late
Yeah. For you, was it music and nothing else? Like music was your
Yeah, it's
yeah,
always music. I mean, that was it. That was just gonna be music. Is that nothing else was gonna stop that? I mean, we did other crazy things,
yeah.
during the parties and everything, but the music wasn't gonna stop. That was the one thing I can say to save my life.
So
When I
during
was,
those, go
even
ahead.
when I was screwing up,
Mm,
I was definitely too embarrassed to say screwing up messed me up from finishing the music. I
mm,
would
of
felt real bad about that one. So I pretty much
course.
maintained. I didn't not mess too much up on that.
Yeah. How did you sustain? I mean, it seems like, especially when I did my homework, there's so many ups and there's so many downs and so many ups. How did you find that strength within yourself to just say, you know what, even with
Oh,
the embarrassment you were speaking of, I'm gonna really do this, you know?
oh, well, it took a minute, doing the like the last 20 years, when you crackhead, you realize that okay, I done did this and I can do it and all that, but it don't have to be a hit every time I do it. And the business part of it is messing up, and I can't quite seem to get that part of it
Mhm.
together. I thought making the music was the only thing that mattered, but then the business part of it was getting too much for me to have the energy to deal with. The time it takes, and
Yeah.
be high and then try to fight this stuff. That was the part that made me like really have to come to terms with, okay, now you got to like, you know, it wasn't hard once I decided that I had to stop.
Yeah.
And I got sick one time when I came out, realized I missed one show, and that was like, oh shit,
Wow.
that's
Yep.
reality. That was
Mhm.
reality for me, and I pretty much never looked back on it. I don't brag about it. Ain't nothing I
Sure.
know. That's the way it was. But I knew then I had a lot of time to catch up on, so I became
Mhm.
really deep into working harder, trying to find the right concept of music. And then I realized that it was about internet. It wasn't about radio stations. So I was out of my league now. I don't even know how to get your
Mm,
records played. And if you get them played, how do you get paid for getting them played? That was a whole nother world.
right.
And when the pandemic came along, and then you couldn't do nothing, and then I had a chance to to,
Right.
to paint.
To do some introspection, to get to know yourself again.
Yeah, to paint,
Yes.
and that got me so enthused. To I'm up 7 o'clock.
Right.
But I knew then it was temporarily. I was able to make some money off of good money, off of it, and I could actually prepare myself with the legal stuff of the
Sure.
music, while and not be in such a hurry that I have to pawn shit off to survive, which is what happens with most artists. When you get at that point, you get in a spot where you have to end up doing stuff you don't want to do
Sure.
just
Yeah.
to survive. I was able to do the art to just enough to keep me going, and the band got enthusiastic again, and I got a bunch of young kids out there now who really is intriguing on the stage as we were back in the old day. You get them a spaceship or something, they'd be the number one thing around here now.
Right, right. I love it. I love that you're so transparent, and thank you for being transparent with me today. I think sometimes when we see people on their mountaintops, we think nothing ever happened to them. And even though we are, you know,
It wouldn't be no fun if it didn't.
right. I think, and I'm starting to grow and understand that almost these trials are part of the success journey and that genuinely make you a superstar. Because do you feel like you're a legend? Do you think you've hit legendary
Oh,
status? I think we do.
I can deal with it. I'm just not getting to the point that I have to act like that. Do all the things. And I'm 82 years old, so I can sneak.
Yeah.
But I always avoided that shit.
Yeah.
'Cause that can get in your way. You start digging on yourself too soon. You get
Right.
entrenched in looking at your reruns. You know.
Mm,
But my thing is, I was always trying to do something new. As soon as I hear somebody do something that they're like, damn, I ain't did shit, then I'm ready to start all over again.
right.
I love being
Mm,
provoked into like, no, you got to do something else. You ain't it.
yeah.
I,
Yeah. I
love,
think it keeps you. Go ahead.
I like that feeling.
Yeah. It keeps you humble. I definitely understand.
Hmm.
Um, so question for you. Let's pivot a little bit. Um, I really wanted to know about Atomic Dog. And really specifically, before you answer my questions, um, why I even chose to reach out to you today was because the question was posed to me of what is atomic dog? What is atomic dog? Why does it make you feel like you want to get up and dance? Why are we barking? And then I went here. Listen, I literally went. I did all this digging up. I did all this research, right? And then I sat back in my chair and I said, I have no idea. And so I reached out to you to ask, what is the magic that makes
That's weird because somebody who I respect so much in this world, Sly Stone,
huge fan?
he said,
Yeah.
and he don't talk about other people's music much at all. He said, but you know what, nigga, that goddamn Atomic Dog, that's some other kind of music, man. He said that, and
Yeah.
he knows the theories of things. He said that is the
Yeah.
truest funky
Right.
piece of music that there is.
It is.
And he don't talk like that. And so, I mean, and I know how we did it, under the circumstances. That was just how we did it. But what it turned out to be, I have no idea
Okay.
why it works
Uh-huh.
like that. I know it works like that. That vibe, that backwards, the feeling of the track. And then the dumb shit that I was saying, because I didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
That was off the top of my head.
You
It
said
must have some kind
Akon.
of primal vibe to it.
It does.
Basically, I was talking animal instinct, basically, and that's what it basically is, an instinctive type of groove that
Mm-hmm.
just makes everybody wants to dance to. And
Right.
it is a cartoon. I mean, that's why you like in Trolls. It
Yeah.
works so good in the Trolls movie because it
Yes.
basically is a cartoon, but it's so seriously funky.
It is.
I'm one of the
Yeah.
Omega of Sci-Fi.
I
Honor,
was gonna congratulate you.
so
You are
thank you.
uh-huh.
Honorary. I mean, that's the only reason I got in there because the song got me in there.
Huge.
That's been their theme song
Mhm.
since the day it came out.
I was gonna ask how long is that partnership
82, as soon as
long?
the record came out, they adopted it
Wow.
right at Howard University where they was put
Amazing.
together at. I actually played there, during that time when the record first came out, one of the first places that I
Yeah.
played. And so it was like they took into it and it's been that way ever since.
Huge. And so what was it like getting that call?
Well, I had to call a few times over the years and it didn't come through, but I'm down here now, Ben Crumpin, frat brother.
Yeah.
So, once we started like saying we're gonna do it, and
Yep.
AJ, they got together and they pushed it on through. So now I'm definitely a Q dog now at 82 years old. They got me out there trying to stomp.
Do you ever get out there?
Hell no, not with it. I get up there and get on the stage.
Right.
When you get old, I realized I see some of the old guys, they real cool with
Yes, the coolest. I
they're
think
the cool.
yes, I think you bring that at everybody. When I see Atomic Dog at any cookout, I literally heard a DJ once say, we don't have life insurance, we don't have health insurance. If anybody hurts themselves, over a certain age, trying to get out there, it's not on me. And
No,
that,
you don't want to get out there if they stomping.
yeah,
We call them up on the stage and then move out of the way.
okay. You said I'm gonna be over here. I'm gonna be on the left. That's awesome. And just yes, super congratulations about that. And the story itself, the track was backwards. Um,
Oh
did
yeah.
you first of all, did you know? Did you did well rather did they know that they were playing it backwards, or because I feel like there's a
Yeah, no, they knew they were playing it backwards. They knew
they
they was
knew
playing it. They knew they was dubbing in backwards. And I
they
just
didn't
came
tell
in
you.
there. I came in there all high and
Sure.
tripping
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know doing what the high tell you, being paranoid, which
Yep.
is what I had to find something to be paranoid about. It was like y'all
Sure.
trying to record without me, and
No.
and
Yeah.
I just run and put myself on Front Street. Give me the money, and now it's on
Yeah.
and I don't know what key this shit is in. I don't know what it ain't got no things I can relate to. But I ain't gonna back up. I just start freestyling.
Go-
This is the sound of famous dogs. The story, chase his tail will be busy. And
I
then,
love it.
and after a while, I realized it ain't changing. And so why must I
Yeah.
feel like that? Why must I chase the cat? Nothing but the dog. And I saw the people smiling in the control room.
Okay. You
Once you
got
see
onto
them teeth,
something.
once you see them teeth, and your ego. Oh, you got this.
Yeah, yeah. You're in your head like, I'm gonna go.
Oh,
I'm gonna go.
do the dog catch it, do the dog. Oh
Awesome.
man, they start slapping five. So
Oh my goodness.
you got it then.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then so you just throw in that pow wow wow yippee yo yippee. And shoot,
Mhm.
I knew I had a hit record.
Right. And from what I
But then
understand,
I didn't realize they was gonna talk about flipping it back over.
no, no, no. It's a hit. It's a
I was
classic.
like,
No.
no, it's finished.
No.
Whatever it
Yeah.
is, we had to put drums on it again going forward. So you get a straight.
Yeah. Did you want to redo your vocals at all when you
I
kind of
wanted to, but
realized?
I wanted to believe me. I wanted to do mine, but what they did over top of my vocals, maybe I
Oh,
didn't need to.
right. And it apparently was a fast process. You came back and they had already done
They
so much.
had already did put their parts over top of mine, and
I think one of the most,
I pretended that I meant to do it.
yeah. Oh, you gotta fake it till you make it. That's the truth. I think one of my favorite parts, and I think it kind of goes unnoticed at first, is just the like panting dog sounds. But I,
Oh
I
yeah.
know that's not dogs; those are humans.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh
know?
no. Once we got started, bow wow wow. Then you got you know a little Greg and Malia Franklin. They was panting like they could do that.
Crazy. Yeah.
I couldn't even do that. Greg still do it.
Really, I love it. I love it. It seemed like a moment, and then it just skyrocketed. The music video, I suppose, like I've heard, broke the color barrier, like on in terms of like being actually published. Being on television. I mean, the video itself is so,
The video was
yeah,
so great. When it first came out, we couldn't get it on MTV. But
right.
still they wasn't doing black thing. But it knocked Michael's song off the charts.
Yep.
But
Mhm.
it was such a hell of a video for all the rest of the country.
Right.
All the other video stations, because it was a well put together video.
Yeah.
Overton Lord and Archie,
Right.
we did it in house.
Oh, so cool. And you're, from what I understand, colorblind as well.
Oh yeah, that's the best part of
So
it.
I was gonna say, so I like that's having the magic, but you still feel it and you still see. Yeah,
Oh, that's why I was able to pick all those different colors and not realize
yeah,
how colorful it really was, especially when I went to Paisley Park
yeah.
and I did the Cinderella Theory album and I got those braids put in there. That's
Mm,
when it was like
yeah.
really colorful. I mean, I could actually see all the different color
Oh,
hairs they
all
had to choose from. I just pick it and not knowing what it looked like. I could just see shades that was value was a little light, a little darker. But I was able to pick colors that I guess they worked pretty good because it worked for a long time.
yeah. I mean, the video itself is a masterpiece, but so is the song.
Matter
Uh,
of fact, I don't know if you can see that little guy. Can you
Let
see?
me see. Move it over a little bit and up. Oh wow, that's awesome. That's terrific. What are we looking at?
Funkos, those little collectibles, those
Yeah,
little collectible bobblehead dolls.
I love
I
it.
did one of myself.
Yeah, I love it. Well, I only have a few more questions. I've been checking the time to make sure we get you on the prompt time. But when you think about all of the musicians you've worked with, who stands out to you in terms of their musical IQ? Who is someone that you walked in on or came into a studio and just blew your mind? You said, I don't know how they did that, but they did it and it came from somewhere that I don't even know. Who stands out in terms of a musician, blew your socks off?
Oh my God, that's
Mhm.
um,
So many.
there's so many.
Hmm.
I mean, when I think about it, Stevie Wonder is one of those ones that
Hmm.
did it so many times that by the time he got to Inner Vision and
Beautiful.
songs in the Key of Life, when he started doing that batch right there,
Yeah.
that was like, whoa, I thought I knew everything about music and stuff. And where
Yeah.
he went with that, And I
Yeah.
guess it was that new technology of the Fairlight and the synthesizers.
Hmm.
What he did with that music at that point, he didn't come back. He's
Okay.
all those songs he did after that was like standards, and that's one of the ones that I mean. The other one I didn't walk in on it, but I sure would have liked to see how Jimi Hendrix did any of that shit he did.
Anything.
I,
Oh my
I
goodness.
have no idea how you. I mean, we did a lot of the feedback and
Hmm.
that kind of stuff, but I would have loved to seen the technology and what the engineers had to go through
Yep.
to do that.
Right. And I'm blanking on the title track now of a song of you all's that is like strictly it's Maggot Brain. It is so just dark guitar. I mean, you're in a bubble, you're insulated in this
But
world.
that's one of those ones where I was using Jimi Hendrix
Yeah.
as a theory, and Eddie Hazel, who was
Yeah.
had that qualification to play blues like that with that kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
I just turned him loose in the studio to do it, and he couldn't even hear what we were doing in the studio
Wow.
with his Echoplex. He was playing an Echoplex, and we had another Echoplex in the control room that he couldn't even hear. So we were freaking this song out while he was playing it. So it sounds like about five different echoes,
Wrapped into one.
which it really is.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, but like I say, he had that feeling that he could have just played forever. Eddie was like that. When it came to blues, every lick he hit, you
Yeah.
felt it. My mother called him "Oh Crying Eddie."
Oh, I love that. Can you explain
Yeah,
it?
she said that "Oh Crying Eddie" again.
I love it. Yeah, it's powerful. It's one of my standouts. Did you have a favorite you like to perform? Was there one you could just look out on the stage and you said everyone is going bonkers? A performance, yeah, a
Well,
favorite.
that was basically that medley of
Hmm.
early Funkadelic. I Got a Thing,
Uh-huh.
music for my mother.
Uh-huh.
Um, I Want to Know If It's Good to You. Those songs back in those, we used to do them in a medley, and it would be like church. Everybody would be tripping in the audience, and everybody be tripping on stage. But it
Yeah.
it gelled so tightly that it didn't have to make any kind of sense as to what
Yeah.
song we were doing. We'd just be jamming for hours and hours, and people would thoroughly enjoyed the show. It was
Huge.
one long vamp.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy it every time I go back and I look. It's just it may be the same song, but there's so many different renditions of
Yeah,
it. Some ways it sounded, some ways that the crowd interacts even with the
yeah, yeah.
song.
I've been getting caught up on those
Yeah,
YouTube
same.
versions. Yeah, I didn't realize that we did certain ones. Some of the songs I didn't even know we did. And recently we just did a couple of songs, Nappy Dugout, which we
Hmm.
have never done live.
Ever?
Never. And we done it over in Japan just recently.
How
And
was that?
people went crazy on YouTube. It's like,
Yeah,
you never played that here. We got more people want to go to the new show. Are
right.
y'all gonna do Nappy Dugout? We saw you doing it in Tokyo.
Yeah. So I heard there was more than one farewell tour. Are you still touring? Are you
Oh
still
yeah, we still farewell. We got a lot of places to get farewell to.
excellent? Excellent. Are you still making music?
Oh sure.
Oh, I love that. Okay, anything that we can expect?
Well, we're doing a lot of music. I can't talk about it because
Okay,
got a
okay.
lot of paperwork to get. A lot of
You're
people have done songs with us
Yeah.
that I don't want to say their name
No,
yet.
no, you don't have to tell. You don't have to tell.
Uh,
But you definitely did hear here. Thank you so much for your time and thank you for everything it is that you have given to
thank
our
you. Let me
yeah.
show a little bit of the
Show
art.
me, show me, show me. Oh, that's beautiful. You made all of those.
Yeah.
What? How big is your art studio? Is it kind of like a bedroom's like size? Is it big?
It's, it's a garage,
Oh, that's huge.
and I just got two long those what you call those box cars. There's
Yeah.
I just got two 40-footers shipping containers.
Really?
Yeah, yeah, to store the stuff in. It's getting crowded in here now.
I bet it is. That's huge.
Okay, thank you.
Can I?
You're welcome. So I'm gonna
Hold
end.
on.